Drop It family, welcome to episode 71 of the Drop It Weight Loss Wellness Wisdom podcast. We're going to get right into it today because this topic is extremely important. This episode is going to be a little uncomfortable and it's going to be a little vulgar, and I'm going to be describing things that might make people feel weird or feel discomfort in themselves. So if you're someone that's easily triggered or somebody that isn't down with vulgarness or down with talking about parts of your body that are uncomfortable to talk about, I would just skip this episode entirely. If you're someone that is ready to find actual comfort in your body and in your life and acceptance for yourself on your weight loss journey, then I would practice sitting with that discomfort and listen to this episode either way and pay attention to what comes up and how you're feeling and practice sitting with the discomfort of that feeling. Your ability to listen to an episode like this without turning it off and sit with the discomfort is the same ability that you're working on building right now to sit with the discomfort of wanting to overeat, wanting to binge. So just recognize those are actually the same thing and see if you might be able to challenge yourself. Today we're talking about shame. And if you're not familiar with my story, I lost 110 pounds in 2019, about 6 years ago, after losing and gaining weight every year, my whole life on every diet you've ever heard of. And I really fucking hated being fat. I really hated being fat. I see people sometimes that are like, oh, I hate being fat. I didn't hate being fat. I hated being fat so much that I would have rather lived under a bridge in a healthy body than had all of the money in the world and been fat. I mean, I had just gone through so much shit from being fat and spent so much of my life fantasizing about not being fat anymore that I would have given literally everything, every dollar I would have ever made, every relationship I ever would have had, anything that I had that I could give up, I would have given up my own half of my life. I would have been like, I would have rather lived to 50 in a healthy body than live to 90 in an unhealthy body. Not that that's even possible to live to 90 in an unhealthy body right now anyway, but you get what I mean. So when I'm talking to you about the shame that I experienced, recognize that this is coming from a place of I had so much hatred for myself in the fact that I just kept trying different shit and then restarting every Monday. And I had so little respect for myself because I really just ultimately didn't trust myself. And this is a big issue that fat people have, right? Is because we keep telling ourselves that we're going to try this thing. And then we end up, trying the thing or not even starting. We're starting and then quitting. And there's a lot of shame tied to that. And there's guilt tied to that. It's so much shame. It's so much guilt. And I'm sure that you have too, if you resonate with my story in any way. So the reason why this episode is going to be important for you is because it's going to give you some things that you can do to work through shame that you feel in your own life and to understand that a lot of the shame you feel in your life is connected to the shame that you feel in your body. Your bodily shame is a direct representation of your life shame. And that's been my experience, and that's the experience of people that I work with as well. So the mirror is the place where I typically felt the most shame. I used to sleep naked. I talked about this a couple episodes ago, but in case you didn't listen, I used to sleep without a shirt on, not naked. I'd sleep with no shirt on because I would sweat so much at night and I didn't want to shower in the morning. So I would, before work, so I would sleep shirtless so that I didn't sweat and wake up and smell like shit. And then I would go and put a t-shirt on just to brush my teeth in the morning because I didn't want to look at my body in the mirror. Like that's the level of hatred that I had towards my own body. And some of the people that I work with one-on-one right now and in my group program have had experiences of physically flipping themselves off in the mirror, physically cussing at themselves in the mirror, like really hating on themselves and kind of making it a mind versus body thing, right? And that was my experience too. When we're losing weight, we're kind of in this war of our mind versus our body. And that's because a lot of the people that we see online have hated themselves into weight loss. A lot of the people that I followed that were sort of mentors to me and North Stars for me, people like David Goggins that lost a lot of weight through ultra running. It was a big, self-hatred proof to myself, trying to find love for myself. I resonated with that story a lot, right? I don't love myself, so I'm going to lose weight so that I can love myself. I feel shame in myself, so I'm going to beat the fat out of me so that I don't feel shame in myself anymore. And it's a trap. It's a trap. You'll never get out of it. You will never, ever, ever get out of that cycle if you maintain that mentality forever. And that was my mentality up until I lost like 75 pounds. And what ended up happening was I'm looking in the mirror and now I'm feeling shame. This was, 2019, 2020. I'd lost somewhere between 75 and 90 pounds at this point. I'm looking at myself in the mirror, feeling shame for how I look still. Maybe not exactly the same amount of shame. If I felt 10 out of 10 shame when I was, 274 pounds, at 190 or 200, I felt, 8 or 9 out of 10 shame. It was still a lot of shame. I wasn't proud of my body. I wasn't even particularly that proud of the journey that I had gone on, because now I'm looking in the mirror and I feel skinny fat. Skinny fat meaning I'm just like tubby. I'm like, you can push me over. There's nothing to me, no strength. But loose. There's a loose look to me that I felt like shit about too. And I just realized really quickly that no amount of change in my body is going to make me feel good about my body and feel less shameful about my body. It just wasn't. And I'd look at these people online that have these amazing bodies and be like, I think that I'll not feel shame once I get that amazing body. And I just started catching myself going, I don't think that's true, because I told myself that I wouldn't feel shame after I got in below 200 pounds. And then I did, and I still feel a lot of shame. Maybe it's marginally better, but I still feel a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. How did things even get this bad in the first place? My body will never recover. I'll always look loose. For me to fill out this skin, I got to put on 30 pounds of muscle, which, is like not that takes years to do. And that was my thought train. What I ended up doing was really practicing finding acceptance and comfort for my body. And I had no comfort when I was on my weight loss journey, but I had acceptance. So as I was losing weight every day for the last time, I would look in the mirror and I would say, I accept that this is where I am at. I am very uncomfortable with where I'm at, but I do accept it, and I'm making progress in the right direction, and I'm setting the intention to finding comfort over time, because you don't want to be uncomfortable in your body forever, right? And it's one of those things where when I was fat, I would try looking at myself in the mirror and doing the whole like I love my body thing, but I actually really did not love my body, right? So this is kind of a similar thread. I would look in the mirror and say, I don't want to hate myself. I don't want to hate myself, but I do hate myself. And I don't want to hate my body, but I do hate my body. I desire to stop hating my body, and I'm open to the possibility of stopping hating my body over time. I accept that this is where I'm at. I do not accept that this is where I will be at in 6 months. And that was the language that I used to just be radically honest with myself, right? And I invite you to try that on for size, even if it doesn't feel true. Try saying that in your own words and see how it kind of just changes the way that you feel just for a second. See how when you say that thing every day to yourself, that you could rewire your entire mindset in a week. The way that you look at the world, your body, yourself could completely change, right? It's a form of self-hypnosis. The words that you speak matter so much. Our words are spells. And I just started started drinking my own Kool-Aid. I accept this is where I'm at, but I'm not comfortable with where I'm at. I accept that this is where I'm at, but I'm not comfortable with where I'm at. And I ended up losing all the weight, looking in the mirror, and just still not really being comfortable, And the reason why is because I just felt really disconnected from my body still. So I always felt like my body didn't match my mind. Like, I want my body to be a representation of who I am in my mind. And then even after I lost weight, I still don't feel like it was, So I practiced connecting with my body. The way that I did that is, and this kind of thing is going to make people uncomfortable. This isn't meant to be a sexual thing or some perverted sounding thing. This is actually what I did. I would get naked in front of the mirror and just start rubbing my body, particularly my chest and my stomach and my legs, the areas where I carried a lot of fat, my neck, my face. And I would close my eyes and just start rubbing it and breathing and just saying, this is my body. This is my body. This is my body. I'm uncomfortable in my body, and I'm proud of my body at the same time. I'm uncomfortable with my body, and I'm proud of the progress that I've made. I'm still uncomfortable with my body. I'm proud of the progress that I've made. I'm open to the idea of feeling more comfortable in my body over time. I'm open to the idea of feeling more comfortable in my body over time. And I'm just rubbing my chest, opening my eyes, looking at myself, like really touching my body and being like, this is my fucking body. My body does not own me. I have felt so much shame over this vessel of my mind and my soul for so long. I desire to not feel the shame anymore. I'm lying to myself if I say that I don't feel it, but I desire to stop feeling it over time. I desire to stop feeling it right now. I wish that was possible. With the snap of a finger, I wish I could stop feeling the shame, but I haven't figured that out yet. But I'm just setting the intention, world, show me how. And every day, I'd brush my teeth, I'd just take my shirt off, and I would just start rubbing my chest and my back and my legs and my face and my neck and pulling my loose skin out, looking at it, right? And for those of you that are 100 plus pounds overweight, the way that I was, the concept of doing this is really fucking hard. It's really fucking hard. Your ability to do this, even though it's really fucking hard, will dictate how you feel now and later in life. And you want that feeling of sustainability. You're never going to hate yourself into sustainability. So I had to find love for myself after I had lost weight and find love for my body. What I coach now is people doing these exercises while they are losing weight. So that's not what I did. I waited and it took me a long time to feel comfortable in the sustainability. The reason why the common sense diet system helps people feel so much more comfortable in sustainability is because we practice these sorts of mentalities and these sorts of exercises while we are actually losing weight. And over time, that concept of I accept where I am, but I'm not comfortable becomes I accept where I am and I feel less uncomfortable. And less uncomfortable actually means I feel more comfortable than I did last month doing this. Wow, this feels really good. It makes sense that I'm not fully comfortable in my fat body because it's not natural, the weight that I am. And I feel pressure in my chest and my spine hurts and all these, and there's heartburn coming out of my nose every night. It makes sense that I'm uncomfortable, but I'm getting more comfortable every day and every week, looking at myself, touching my chest. Your case might be feeling your boobs, like letting that shit hang out, right? And I just did this every day for a long time. And then I kind of stopped doing it because I just started feeling so connected to my body and so comfortable with my body now that it's like, it hasn't been a necessity to do this sort of practice. But what I do now is I walk around naked all the time. Like anytime that I'm home alone in my house, my now apartment, now I'm in an Airbnb right now. But anytime that I'm anywhere alone in my space, I am just butt-ass naked walking around. And it's not even like a thought. It's just like, it's so interesting because people, I would have listened to this and been like, that's so weird, that's so unnatural. But the reality is it's actually natural, right? All of these parts of my body that I've been insecure about my whole life. You know, the fact that my right tit was so much fatter than my left one. So now I have right tit loose skin and I don't really have that much left tit loose skin. So it looks totally imbalanced, right? It would have been something that I would have never had the choice to hide it because thousands of years ago, we were always naked around each other. But now we're all clothed, and the clothing represents us physically hiding, but also us hiding our souls from each other too, right? And that's a whole different topic. It makes sense that we have clothing. I'm not saying that we should not have clothing. I'm all for wear your clothing. Don't get naked in public, right? Don't go to jail. But you get what I'm saying. You can actually get to the point where you feel fully comfortable in your own body and feel no shame in your own body. You really can. That's actually possible. You need to work on it while you are losing weight. The concept that you're going to look at yourself in the mirror after you hit your weight loss goal, but never when you're losing weight is not going to work. Challenge yourself. The reason why this is coming up, so, you know, we're what, 71 episodes into this podcast? There's almost this element of like, we've talked about most things at this point. We've talked about everything with food. We've talked about so much with mindset, so much with socialization and travel and how to build your meals and appropriate framing. And I'm just realizing through going back and listening to some of these episodes, I'm not really letting you guys in on what I'm actually doing now. And the reason why is because a lot of the stuff that I do now is less pertinent to where you're at on your journey. What's more pertinent to you is what I did to lose weight and keep it off, not what I'm doing 6 years later. My commitment to you is to step more into sharing some of the things that I'm doing now and the way that I'm living now, because I want you to be able to see what is possible. Because I didn't see that. I didn't have someone to look at and be like, that guy kept the weight off. This is the way that he's living now. And some of the things that I'm doing now, I live in Austin, Texas. The reason why this whole shame and body shame and guilt and all this shit is coming up for me, and the reason I wanted to make this episode in the first place was I was at this leadership conference for coaches last weekend here in Austin. And the concept that we were exploring was shame and guilt. And there were, man, I don't know, maybe 100 people at this conference. And it was a three-day thing over 2 weekends. It was a 5 or 6 day thing altogether. And we're exploring shame and guilt, and the invitation was for anybody that wanted to lean into their own shame and lean into their own guilt. And what some of the people, including myself, chose to do, this is going to sound crazy for a lot of people listening to this, and that's okay, and uncomfortable, was get naked and like fully expose your full body in front of these 100 plus strangers. And it's not some sexual thing or perverted thing. There wasn't even 1 degree of that existed in this space. It was about seeing what happens and seeing what comes up for you when you choose to do something like that. So imagine, I could have never imagined doing that when I was fat as fuck, standing naked in front of a bunch of people standing naked in front of myself, I couldn't imagine doing. So standing naked in front of 100 plus strangers felt crazy to me. And the lens that I'm coming at now is I'm shirtless on Instagram all the time. I'm talking about, vulgar and really vulnerable things on this podcast all the time. So you've got to think that I'm pretty warmed up to this level of vulnerability, right? I'm shaking my blue skin and pulling it out on Instagram on a weekly basis. And people watch it. And I don't feel shame around that anymore. That's not an edge for me anymore because I've been doing it for a year and a half or so. But something about getting in front of 100 plus people and literally just undressing myself and having everybody watch me was mentally, I didn't think that it would be an issue going into it. I thought, I've done so much work on myself. I'm so proud of my body. I'm so proud of this journey. And I took my clothes off and was shivering in fear and had just like almost was about to cry, and not tears of sorrow, but just tears of discomfort. And I was squinching my face and tightening my jaw, and like my whole body felt flexed and so tight and so uncomfortable. I mean, this is one of the most uncomfortable things that I've ever done. And what we were doing was seeing what comes up for you when you're being fully seen. Not just fully seen in your body, but fully seen for who you are as a person. When you're in a position of that level of vulnerability, it's not about seeing you as a human body. It's about seeing you as a person. Like what comes up for you, right? And for me, it was just sorrow, tons of shame, so much guilt. And I stood up. Everyone else is sitting down. And I know how fucking crazy this sounds. It was crazier than I'm making it out to be, and it was more uncomfortable than I'm really sharing here in truth. And I'm standing there with my arms out, just shivering. Everybody's looking at me. There's like 30 seconds of silence, and it felt like 10 hours. And I really wanted to lean into my edge. And I'm sitting there, and in my head, I'm just like, oh my God, run. Oh my God, I'm so uncomfortable. I'm so shameful because it's really clear that I was fat. I'd lost all this weight. And I just started telling people, I'm like, here's my moment to reclaim, because what's happening is I am caring so much about what these other people think about my body. That's what's happening in my mind at this point. Oh my God, they're gonna judge me. Oh my God, I judge myself. Oh my God, the shame. And I can't even open my eyes, right? And I open my eyes and I'm just looking at people. Nobody actually gives a fuck. And I just realized, and I stated out loud, I don't give a fuck what any of you think about my body. I don't even know who the fuck you are. I said that like 3 times. I don't give a fuck what you think about my body. I don't even give a fuck who you are. And that wasn't actually the truth the first time I said it, because I did give a fuck. And it's not about lying. It's about trying something on for size. Like, try saying that and see what it feels like. I don't give a fuck what you think about my body. I know who I am, and I'm proud of what I went through. And I said it 3 or 4 times, and I said it like I mean it. I said it like I fucking meant it. And the last time I said it, I did mean it. I got to the point where I did. And I just started walking people through every single part of my body that I'm insecure about. I pulled all my loose skin out. I'm butt ass, like private parts hanging out, right? And I started walking people through everything. Every single part of, I've got more hair on the fucking right side of my stomach than the left. My eyes are imbalanced. And when I record myself on Instagram, I look at it and I just go, what the fuck? That's not really what I look like. I've got My right tit is still bigger than my left one. I don't know how I still carry fat on my right boob. It makes no sense to me because I don't have much body fat. I've got imbalances in my loose skin. I've got muscular imbalances. I'm not as strong as I ideally would like to be. My back is fucked up and it's something I'm working on, but sometimes I have postural issues. I just threw every single thing, every insecurity in my body. And as I was walking through it, I was up there for minutes, right? As I'm walking through them all, I'm internally, I'm telling myself, find pride, turn shame into pride. I'm shameful about my loose skin. I'm shameful about my stretch marks. And I'm stating out loud, I feel shame in my stretch marks, followed by I feel pride in my stretch marks. I feel shame in my loose skin. And directly afterwards, I'm stating, I feel pride in my loose skin. It's not either or, it can be both, right? But your ability, and what I'm doing in this moment is I'm practicing what I preach, because I'm talking about this shit on the podcast all the time. And I'm sitting there going, practice what you preach, practice what you preach. And I'm practicing converting shame and into positivity, and shame into pride, and shame into good feeling. And to be able to do that in a container of, oh my God, to do that in front of 100 people naked was the most seen I've ever been. You know, it's one thing for you to see me on this podcast or hear what I'm talking about, but for me to be doing it butt-ass naked in front of people I didn't know was like to sit with that judgment that I felt like people had on myself, that I then learned actually nobody fucking cared. And I logically know that. You know, so much of what we talk about on this podcast, logically we know that these things are true. We just don't actually feel them as truth in our body. The way to feel the things that I'm sharing here in your body is to practice them. So I logically know that I don't want to feel shame and that I want to feel pride, but I don't actually in my body feel the shame, or I don't logically in my body feel the pride. Yes, that's when you get in the mirror and you practice actually acting these things out and actually doing this. That's how you make this thing that you logically know into a feeling. You need to do that to have sustainability. You do. And my biggest takeaway, it was exhilarating, you know, and it was my biggest takeaway is because there's parts of me, you know, as much as me or anyone else wants to still say, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. It's like, I do still judge myself sometimes. I'm not perfect, right? I do still look at my own content and go, content sucks. I do still look at, you know, there's times where I still don't feel like not enough views, not enough impact on the world, all this stupid shit that I logically know doesn't matter how many views I have, but sometimes I'm just like, I want a little more, you know, and that's a part of being a human. And I want to be a little fitter. I want to have a little more muscle, you know. I want to eat, you know, whatever the fuck I want and not have to worry about it sometimes. And that's just, everyone has that. So it's not about beating that out of you or beating that out of me. It's about just honoring it and finding pride instead of shame. Converting shame into pride is the number one skill set that you can actually practice and develop no matter where you are at, that will lead to you feeling sustainable on the journey. And it's going to lead to you, the times that you've lost weight before and then you've gained it back. Yes, it's because you weren't eating sustainably. Yes, all these other things that we talk about. Yes, you might have not had a fully healthy mindset. Your ability to practice this one thing is probably one of the biggest things that you can develop, and one of the biggest indicators of how sustainable your results will be. If you're fat looking in the mirror, you can turn this into, I feel shame. There's a lot of shame when I look at myself. There's actually some self-hatred there too. And I don't like that, but I do feel it. And I feel proud of myself for even having the balls to look in the mirror, for having the courage to look in the mirror. I feel pride. That's just and that's the truth. When you really tap into that, you will actually feel that. You really will. And you don't need to take this to the level where you're getting naked in front of 100 people. You don't have to live this super edgy thing. That's not what it's about. It's about you finding comfort with yourself. And when I was sitting there on stage, I sat there for 3 minutes until I grounded this discomfort into a comfortable place. I would have not been able to do that when I was fat because I was physically uncomfortable when I was fat all the time. But you need to understand that you will feel more physically comfortable as you get to a healthy body weight, and you need to practice these sorts of things in the mirror so that once you get there, you're not unhappy with your ability to look at yourself and you still feel so much shame that you end up just quitting and then gaining all of the weight back the way that I did my entire life. If you made it to the end of this podcast episode, you absolutely have what it takes to lose weight, and you absolutely have what it takes to keep the weight off. If you find this helpful, please send it to your other friends that are fat or your family members that are fat. And selfishly, it really helps me get this message to other people and grow this show. But unselfishly, it's helping this message get to people that are going to benefit from understanding what is possible and from understanding the mindset that it takes and the level of connection with yourself and your body that it takes to lose weight and keep it off. And I wish that everyone in the world has the ability to do that at some point in their lives and actually makes that the number one priority, because everybody deserves that. I deserve that, and you deserve that too. See you all next week.